I'm Diane from Keswick Village. This is the Rorschach Arctic Update from the 1st of April 2025. A quick summary of what's going down north of the Arctic Circle. The winter in the Arctic is a time of recovery for temperatures to drop, snow to fall, and ice to grow. But this year's sea ice failed to rebound. On Tuesday, the 27th of March, NASA reported the Arctic sea ice reached its lowest ever winter maximum on the 22nd of March, covering just 5.5 million square miles, 14 million square meters. NASA also revealed that the Antarctic sea ice had its second worst year on record, making 2025 the lowest ice year globally ever recorded. The alarming trend signals worsening conditions for the planet's poles, raising concerns about the future of polar ecosystems and global climate stability. Meanwhile, Greenland is looking towards its future with a new government. On Friday, the 28th of March, the government announced that a coalition agreement was signed between 4 of the 5 parties in the country's parliament, representing 3/4 of the election's votes. Jens Fredrik Nielsen, the leader of the Democratic Party, will serve as prime minister alongside the Inuit Ataqatigiit, Atasut, and Sinuit parties. The only excluded party is Nelirik, which won the second most votes, but is only party pushing for immediate independence from Denmark and closer ties with the U.S. With rising political tensions, the coalition aims to counter perceived U.S. influence rather than cooperate. The ongoing saga between Greenland and the U.S. continued at full force this week. On Friday, the 28th of March, the U.S. Vice President visited a U.S. military base in Greenland, where he gave a speech accusing the Danish government of treating Greenland poorly, suggesting the U.S. would do better. Then, on Saturday, the 29th of March, President Trump told the U.S. outlet NBC News that he was 100% certain he would take control of Greenland in the near future, once again refusing to rule out the use of military invasion. Greenland's PM Nielsen responded immediately with a Facebook post where he declared that the U.S. would never take control of his country and that his countrymen would be the ones to determine their own future. Speaking of the U.S., it is ramping up efforts to secure Arctic dominance. On Wednesday, the 26th of March, news outlet The Maritime Executive reported that the U.S. government is injecting nearly $1 billion into its long-delayed icebreaker program, the Polar Security Cutter Project, launched in 2014 to build 3 heavy icebreakers for $1.3 billion, has yet to produce a single vessel. Costs have since skyrocketed past $5 billion, and no ships are under construction. This latest investment aims to finally push the project forward as the U.S. struggles to match the ice-breaking capabilities of other Arctic nations. The government insists this funding will be the last needed to complete its first new heavy icebreaker in over 50 years. Norway's recent Arctic investments are expected to be very lucrative. The newest oil field in the Arctic Barents Sea of the Norwegian oil company Equinor finally began oil production on Monday, the 31st of March. According to a statement published by the company, the oil field has suffered 2 years of delays and has cost over $8 billion to develop. But Equinor's statement predicts that the oil field will repay that entire figure within 2 years and then extract oil for another 30. Norway is investing heavily in Arctic oil, and it's already paying off. Norway's Arctic almost had much more to celebrate this week. The Andøya spaceport in northern Norway has promised to launch the country into the space age and be Europe's first commercial spaceport. First rocket launch finally took place on Sunday, the 30th of March. But according to a report by the spaceport on their Facebook page, 30 seconds after the launch, the rocket fell to the ground and exploded. Even though it didn't go as planned, the event still made history as the first rocket vehicle launched from Norwegian soil, as Andøya looks forward to a more successful future. To watch the historic launch yourself, take a look at the link in the show notes. Sweden is making heavy Arctic investments too. Ulf Kristersson, the Swedish Prime Minister, announced on Wednesday, the 26th of March, that Sweden is embarking on a massive armament plan to vastly expand the size of its military due to Trump's and Putin's aggression in the Arctic. The country will increase its defense spending about 3.5% of its GDP by 2030, with an initial investment of almost $30 billion. This marks the largest military investment in Sweden since the Cold War, as Kristersson said that the country faces a new security environment in the north. In northern Sweden, the effects of chemical pollution are being felt even deep underground. News agency SVT reported on Thursday, the 27th of March, that the Swedish mining company LKAB was drilling a tunnel in the Kiruna region in the north about 700 meters, over 2,000 feet, underground. While drilling, the mining team hit a water channel. LKAB tested the water and revealed it is heavily contaminated by PFAS, known as forever chemicals. Helena Soderlund, the environmental manager of Kiruna, said that her major concern is that this contaminated water has spread to local waterways used for drinking or fishing. LKAB told SVT that they will install a treatment plant as soon as possible to purify the water to hopefully keep it safe. Over the border in Russia, massive plans are being made to transform the country's Arctic. Gojimagomed Gusinov, the first deputy minister for development of the Arctic, announced plans on Friday the 28th of March to develop 16 settlements in Russia's north. The project will spend over $40 billion in an attempt to turn the currently sparsely populated North Coast into an area with developed towns and cities, working towards exploiting Russia's untapped Arctic natural resources and supporting the transformation of the Northern Ocean into a global shipping hub. Speaking of transformation, Iceland has become a nation of almost complete female power. On Sunday, the 29th of March, Icelandic newspaper RUV reported that Silja Bara Ómarsdóttir has taken over as rector of the University of Iceland. With this appointment, something extraordinary has occurred in the country. Every single position in the highest offices of Iceland is headed by a woman for the first time in the country's history. The Prime Minister and President, every parliamentary party, the Reykjavik Council, the head bishop, police commissioner, and prosecutor, and now every Icelandic university are all led by women. In Canada, Indigenous communities are uniting in the pursuit of justice. On Tuesday, the 25th of March, the Aboriginal People's Television Network reported that the First Nations Leadership Council is urging the Canadian government to criminalize public denial of residential school abuses. For over 150 years, these schools forcibly took more than 150,000 Indigenous children from their families in an attempt to erase their cultures, with thousands never returning home. Despite this history, denial of these atrocities has been increasing in the country. The council aims to prevent misinformation and ensure the truth is acknowledged, pushing for legal measures to protect survivors and their stories while ensuring such injustices are never repeated. However, there is cause for celebration in Indigenous Canada. The Canadian Music Awards, the Junos, were held on Sunday, the 30th of March. The Inuit singer Eliza Pai was nominated for 2 awards for her album Inuktitut and walked away victorious in the Adult Alternative Album category, making her 3rd Juno win. She wasn't the only Inuit winner. Dantha Edmonds was also nominated twice for her song Angmolakasa, winning her first ever Juno in the Best Classical Composition category. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Don't worry, subscribing to Rorschach Arctic Update won't cost you a thing. By subscribing, you're helping us grow and continue bringing you the updates you love. Tune in on your favorite podcast platform. Hadet!